What makes a great leader great? How do we create a high-performing team? And when we say leader, we mean everyone, because everyone is leading their own life. Will yours be a life by design or a life by default? Those are the big questions, and this podcast will answer them. Welcome to the Becoming Your Best podcast, where we help you apply the 12 principles of highly successful leaders, because great leaders will produce great results.
Welcome to the Becoming Your Best podcast. Wherever you may be in the world today, we are honored and privileged to have you with us. I wish we had the chance to just be together and talk about this great subject that we're going to discuss today. Have you ever had an experience that changed your life forever? And sometimes that can take place in just a moment. I had one of those experiences just last week. The experience was so profound, I feel that it will have a permanent impact on my life and behavior for the rest of my life. It's a perfect example of working to live. Principle number 5, live the golden rule in business and life from Becoming Your Best, the 12 principles of highly successful leaders. Here is the experience. Our family had just recently had an extraordinary trip to Spain for an amazing reunion with family and friends. And we returned via John F. Kennedy Airport in New York City, really focused on getting home after a long trip and being away. And as you know, it is quite a process when traveling with family, particularly with 6 grandchildren, and especially when mixed with the security process at JFK, who are all about business and do such a great job. Things are focused, hurried, pushing, with a mass of people busily heading in 100 different directions. Well, the family had hurried ahead of Roxanne and me, and we had just cleared security heading to our gate. And as we descended on the escalator going down to the pathway to the gates, Roxanne and I both noticed a cute little girl that were on the stairs going down next to the escalator. She was about 3 years old. She was weeping and crying. Right as I descended from the escalators, I noticed out of the corner of my eye the mother. But I got to the end of the escalator and moved right on to the gates. I had gone about 30 feet and noticed that Roxanne was not with me. And so I looked back and noticed that Roxanne was standing together with the mother. I kind of motioned to her to come on, but she didn't. I returned to them and noticed that the mother was also weeping and deeply emotional. I looked up at my wife, and she was also touched, and tears were rolling down her cheeks. Roxanne then reached out and warmly embraced and just held this young mother and comforted her. This beautiful Indian woman explained that she was heading to New Delhi and had just said goodbye to her husband a few minutes before. And it was so hard. This was such a touching scene. Roxanne comforted the young lady as if she was her own daughter. You could tell this simple gesture was most welcomed and appreciated. After a few minutes, we wished the young mother and her toddler daughter well, and were reluctantly on our way. I really felt I was on sacred ground, being blessed to observe something that was very special. As I reflected upon it, of all of the things going on in JFK that day, perhaps that moment was one of the most important. The lesson is all the more important because my dear wife, who is in advanced stages of dementia and Alzheimer's, noticed something important that I had entirely missed and took for granted. I've felt embarrassed, that's for sure, just quietly to myself. but I also felt humbled with a desire to do better. So thank you, Roxanne, for teaching me I can do and be better. And thank you for your example of love, compassion, and building a better world. Reflect upon a person maybe that you've worked with, including mentors, fellow workers, employees, friends, and family. And think about this, because this has been very helpful, because perhaps some of these are among your very favorite people in life who have consistently recognized you, your talents, and helped you along in life. You feel great around these people as you reflect upon them. We are indebted to that kind of a highly successful leader. There goes that word again, leader. I use that word because leadership is taking deliberate action to help things get to a better place. It is so fun to be around inspiring leadership that lifts the world, that lifts you, that lifts an entire team or an organization. Leadership is action-oriented. The highly successful leader's actions are not dependent on how somebody else treats them or what somebody else does or does not do to them. And you can be that same influence in the lives of others, especially closest to you, your spouse or partner, children, grandchildren, family, and friends. That's exactly what Roxanne was doing that day in JFK. She was exercising leadership. It didn't make any difference where we were going. We certainly had the time. We weren't going to miss that flight. And her behavior was not dependent upon somebody else's pressure for a schedule. She took the time to notice something and do what was right. Ask yourself every day, who is in need today? How can I lift the hands that hang down, the troubled in heart, the person that suffered a setback or is going through a trial? Listen, look around, respond and act. This is living principle number 5, live the golden rule. And when you do this consistently as part of your life, it is one of the most powerful influences that exists to cause change. These kinds of actions motivate, inspire, lift, build, and help people to become the best that they can be. And in the process, you are becoming your best. In addition to experiences that you've had in this area, either being on the receiving or giving side of things, think of some of the greatest leaders in history and how they treated other people. It's one of the reasons we remember them. The best do things differently than much of the world. George Washington or Wilberforce, Anne Sullivan, Helen Keller, Florence Nightingale, Abe Lincoln, Ronald Reagan, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and so on, men and women who have had such a warm impact, lifted and built others. Not only were these individuals that changed our world for good, but they're known for treating other people right, for taking time to care. I went to the internet just thinking about this and found an anonymous, fun piece on this subject entitled 50 Random Acts of Kindness. I've taken the liberty to make some edits, and I'll share a few of the ideas, and we'll include all 50 with my modifications, with the liberties I've taken to change them a little bit. I'm going to call it 50 Ways to Care for Others. Random acts of kindness. Here are just a few. With family members, notice how they're doing. Ask what has been their high point in the last month or the last week. What has been their low point? And what makes you happiest? Here's another one. Surprise a neighbor with freshly baked cookies or treats. I was thinking as I looked at that question, how often that really happens. And occasionally, every once in a while, we have some treats brought by, but it's not a big number. And we have a lot of great, wonderful friends, but this is just a good example of going the extra mile. Here's another one. Rather than asking someone if you can be of help, ask, may I give you a hand with that? And actually look for something that you can do to help and then go for it. Here's another one. Send a gratitude email to a coworker or a friend or a family member who deserves more recognition or has a need perhaps to be lifted. Well, these are just good examples. I have just 2 or 3 more from this list of 50. Here's one. Everyone is important. Learn the names of your office security guard, the person at the front desk, or other people you see every day. Greet them by name. Also say hello to strangers and smile. These acts of kindness are so easy, and they almost always make people smile. I like this one. Write your partner or spouse a list of things you love about them. Or how about this one? Run an errand for a family member who is busy. I love it. It's so good. Here's the last one I'm going to share out of the 50. Email or write to a former teacher who made a difference in your life. And that could also be a former leader. Well, one of the questions that frequently comes up is how can I affect permanent change for good in my life? And especially as we think about an experience like I had or like you've had that's had a big impact and you want to incorporate it. Well, one of the best ways to change is to be sure what you want to do, what you desire is reflected in your 1, 2, 3. You say, well, what is the 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, 3 represents your vision, your annual goals, and pre-week planning. In my case, for example, this had a huge emotional impact on me. And so how do I take the next step and build it into my life, into my behavior? Well, I've added to my vision to slow down and be aware of the important things going on, especially with those closest to me. So you have the vision, and once you have it, you've got it. But you can make little changes, little additions, little edits like this. And then each time when you read it, it reminds you of the emotion, the desire that you have. You could even, in the middle of the year, add a new part to your annual goal. In this case, it might be, for me, I think about how do I take the vision and do something this year that makes it more of a reality. Mine is the little addition is to take out each grandchild on a one-on-one meal or outing just to get to know them better, to listen, to slow down. And then the third one, number 3, is pre-week planning. And this is where you can reflect upon the role of leader or spouse or family, father or grandfather, mother, grandmother, whatever it might be. And what can I do this week to be more attentive? And this is where you can implement then your annual goals and what you want to do. If you want to really affect any type of permanent change, when you front load that desire or what hoped for behavior is into your 1, 2, 3, it is much more likely to become a permanent part of your life. So what's the impact of living the golden rule, both in business and life, of doing these things? Well, you have the feeling that what you're doing is the right thing to do. You're leaving the world a better place. Now, research shows that recognizing and building others is far and away far more productive than criticism or worse, doing nothing. Here's another impact of this. In this type of positive environment that you create by doing these kind of things that we're talking about, taking time to care, people flourish and are more engaged. I mean, we're talking employees, we're talking family members, we're talking those we associate with in civic responsibilities. And this lays the foundation for high performance as individuals and organizations. Well, it also is very powerful in that one of the greatest impacts, you have greater happiness, peace, tranquility, and success. You leave a better world. There's currently far too much hate and meanness, ignorance, incivility, animosity, jealousy, and impatience in the world today. When there is a greater influence of love, kindness, caring, patience, and recognition of good, the world is changed for the better. This is the kind of action that my wife, Roxanne, showed in the busy JFK airport just a week ago. I'm confident she blessed this woman in need. However, in the process, she changed my life. May this principle and these simple examples give you encouragement and greater energy as you continue to make a difference in your own right, simply by working on living the 12 principles of highly successful leaders. And as we've discussed today, taking time to care. This is Steve Schallenberger wishing you a great day.
Thank you for listening. Would you like help to apply the 12 principles of highly successful leaders in your life, in your family, or in your organization? Call us today at 888-690-8764 to speak with a helpful representative to evaluate your situation and how we can help. Or you can visit becomingyourbest.com. Whether it's a corporate training event, keynote, workshop, trainer certification, or personal coaching, it would be our pleasure to serve your needs. Once again, call 888-690-8764 or visit becomingyourbest.com today.